Welcome back, deep divers. Ready to sink your teeth into another juicy story?
Always.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into Ali Hazelwood's Bride. Buckle up, because we're about to enter a world of fangs, fur, and a love story that's anything but conventional.
Oh, yeah. Bride takes that classic marriage of convenience trope and throws it into a whirlwind of sci-fi, political intrigue, and of course Hazelwood's signature humor. It's a wild ride.
That it is. So for those who haven't yet ventured into Hazelwood's world, what makes her stand out in the crowded world of contemporary romance?
You know, she's got this knack for blending science and romance in a way that feels both smart and sexy. Her characters aren't just falling head over heels for no reason. Their attractions, their conflicts, it's all grounded in this world where science and the supernatural collide.
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of this forced marriage, can you give us a quick overview of the world Hazelwood has created in Bride?
It's not your typical vampire romance, that's for sure. We're talking vampires and wares coexisting uneasily alongside humans.
Oh, I like where this is going. So tell me, how do those dynamics play out? Is it all sunshine and rainbows, or are there some underlying tensions?
Tensions, you could say that.
Yeah.
There's a long and complex history between these species, marked by centuries of conflict and a very fragile peace.
I'm sensing a but coming.
But they've managed to avoid all-out war thanks to this system called the collateral exchange.
Collateral exchange. Now that sounds ominous. What exactly does that entail?
Imagine children being exchanged between species as a guarantee of good behavior. That's the collateral exchange in a nutshell.
Wow. That's insane. So it's basically a system of hostages to maintain peace.
Exactly. It's designed to prevent war, but obviously comes at a huge personal cost. Our protagonist, Misery Lark, she grew up as that collateral, living among humans but never fully belonging to either world.
I can't even imagine the emotional toll that would take. Speaking of Misery Lark, I've heard whispers that she's not your typical damsel in distress.
Oh, Misery is anything but typical. Brilliant, cynical, guarded. She's basically the anti-bride. Think more algorithms and sarcasm, less hearts and flowers.
So no swooning for this heroine.
Not so much. She finds solace in logic in her work as a computer engineer. But underneath that prickly exterior, there's a vulnerability, a yearning for connection that stems from her traumatic past.
It sounds like Hazelwood has created a really complex and fascinating character.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of this forced marriage, we have Lo Moreland, the alpha of the Southwest Werpack. What's his story?
Lo is your classic alpha wear, at least on the surface. Strong, stoic, a born leader, but there's a lot more to him than meets the eye.
Oh, do tell.
Well, for starters, he's carrying this heavy burden. His true mate is actually the wearer collateral held by the vampires, so he's going into this marriage with a heart that's already spoken for, in a sense.
Whoa, talk about complicated. That definitely adds a whole new layer of tension to this whole forced marriage situation.
You can say that again. Plus, he's also dealing with the pressure of leading his pack and navigating this incredibly complex political landscape.
So we've got Misery, the former collateral, who's been used as a pawn her whole life, forced to marry Lo, the alpha wearer, whose heart belongs to another. And all this is happening against the backdrop of this fragile peace between vampires, wares, and humans. It sounds like a recipe for disaster, honestly.
Oh, it definitely has all the ingredients for chaos. But that's what makes Hazelwood's stories so gripping. You never know what's going to happen next.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm hooked. I can't wait to see how these characters navigate these challenges, how the relationship evolves, and whether they can overcome the odds to find love.
Me too. And trust me, you won't want to miss a single twist or turn. This marriage of convenience is about to get a whole lot more complicated.
You've definitely piqued my curiosity. So let's dive into the heart of this story and unravel the complexities of this unlikely love story.
Let's do it. Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we're untangling the complex web of Ali Hazelwood's Bride. And, you know, one thing that really strikes me about this book is how Hazelwood manages to balance those really heavy themes like interspecies conflict and personal trauma with this sharp, witty humor.
Yeah, it's like even when the stakes are high, there's this undercurrent of humor that keeps the story from becoming too dark or overwhelming.
Exactly, like that scene where Misery is explaining, you know, basic vampire facts to her human foster sister, Serena.
Yeah.
And Serena's like, well, humans are pretty good at indirectly killing each other, too, you know, like expensive healthcare and bad environmental policies.
It's so true. And it's that kind of sharp observation, that witty banter, that makes Hazelwood's characters feel so relatable.
They might be dealing with, like, supernatural drama, but their anxieties, their experiences, even their jokes, they feel grounded in reality.
Absolutely. And speaking of relatable characters, can we talk about Misery for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Because she is not your typical romance heroine.
No, not at all. She's prickly, she's cynical, she's got these like emotional walls built up sky
But
high.
that's what makes her so interesting, right?
Totally. It's all a result of her past, you know? Growing up as the collateral, constantly being used as a bargaining chip, it's no wonder she relies on logic and sarcasm to protect herself.
It makes you wonder how someone so guarded, so used to being used, can even open themselves up to the possibility of love, especially with someone from a species she's been conditioned to distrust.
Well, that's the beauty of Hazelwood's writing, right? She doesn't shy away from those complexities. Misery's journey isn't about her suddenly becoming this like soft and love-struck heroine. It's about her slowly realizing that vulnerability, even with an alpha wearer, doesn't equal weakness.
And how does Lo, being this powerful alpha, how does he respond to Misery's, her guarded nature?
You know, he doesn't try to overpower her or dominate her. He sees her strength, her resilience, and he actually respects her boundaries.
Which is so refreshing to see, honestly,
Yeah,
especially in a paranormal romance where you often have that kind of like dominant alpha trope.
exactly. And as they get to know each other, we see Lo actually allowing himself to be vulnerable with Misery in ways he probably wouldn't with anyone else. He confides in her, asks for her advice, really trusts her judgment.
And do you think their shared experiences, facing these external threats together, do you think that plays a role in breaking down those barriers between them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they go through so much together, protecting Anna, dealing with the vampire and were councils, even just fending off attacks from those who oppose their union. These shared challenges force them to rely on each other, to see past those initial prejudices and really start to connect on a deeper level.
And there's that one scene, where Misery reveals her fangs to Lowe's for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Felt so charged, so vulnerable.
It's such a pivotal moment because it plays on those primal instincts, those ingrained fears that both species have about each other. But Lo's reaction is so important. He doesn't like recoil in horror or anything. He's intrigued, even drawn to her, fangs and all.
And then there's that scene on the plane where Misery feeds from Lowe for the first time.
Oh man, that scene, so intense.
Talk about a turning point in their relationship.
Right? It takes their connection to a whole new level. According to Misery's twin brother, when a vampire feeds from a wearer, it creates this like hormonal bond that intensifies their emotions, blurs the lines between predator and prey. It's pretty intense.
Wow. So it's not just a physical act, it's like deeply significant to their bond.
Exactly. It suggests that their connection was meant to be even before that whole mate bond reveal, which, by the way, talk about a game changer.
Oh, we're getting to that. But first, I want to touch on the mystery surrounding Anna's parentage. Because we know she's a hybrid, a were-human mix, but the details are still pretty murky.
Right. And her very existence challenges everything everyone thinks they know about were and vampire society.
It's like she's a symbol of the possibility of something different, a future where those species lines aren't so rigid.
Exactly. And the way Misery and Lo care for Anna, despite the risk, it speaks volumes about their characters. They're willing to defy convention, challenge those prejudices, because they see her as an individual, not just a symbol.
It's a powerful message about acceptance and seeing beyond those labels that society tries to put on us.
And it makes you wonder, right, what would happen if the truth about Anna's parentage came out? I mean, it could shatter that fragile peace that everyone's worked so hard to maintain.
Oh, totally. It raises the stakes and creates all this suspense. You're constantly wondering, who knows about Anna? Who's going to try to exploit her? What lengths will Misery and Lo go to protect her?
It's a constant source of tension throughout the book, for sure.
And speaking of secrets and surprises, can we talk about Serena for a minute?
Oh, yeah. Serena. Her storyline really throws a wrench into things.
Because she's not just human, is she?
Nope. Turns out she's got a little bit of wear in her, too, inherited from her dad. She's got this heightened sense of smell, this intuitive understanding of the were world. And it was Serena who uncovered the truth about Anna's parentage.
Whoa! So she's been playing a much bigger role than we initially realized.
Totally. And her disappearance is directly tied to her investigation. She was trying to protect Anna, keep her secret safe.
It's fascinating how Hazelwood uses these seemingly minor characters to bring in these bigger themes of hidden identity and the complexities of family.
It's not just about misery and low, it's about exploring this whole world where bloodlines are intertwined and those boundaries between human and supernatural are constantly being challenged.
And she does it all with this like signature blend of humor and heart that makes her books so addictive.
Seriously, I mean, I was hooked from the first page.
Me too. So,
Uh-oh.
ready to dive into the final part of this deep dive and see how it all unfolds.
Oh, absolutely. We'll unpack that explosive climax, analyze those resolutions, and really get into what makes Bride such a captivating read.
Okay, deep divers, we're back and ready to unravel the final chapter of Ali Hazelwood's Bride. I'm still processing all those twists, especially Serena's hidden-ware heritage and the implications of Anna being a hybrid. It's incredible how seamlessly Hazelwood weaves those subplots into the main romance.
It's a testament to her skill as a storyteller. You know, she's not just creating characters, but this whole intricate world around them, and every single action has these ripple effects. The fate of entire species hinges on these individual choices.
Yeah, and speaking of choices, I want to circle back to the power dynamics between Misery and Lo for a second.
Yeah.
Because we talked about how their strengths complement each other, but there's also this tension, right, between her past as a collateral and his role as an alpha wearer. Did you feel like Hazelwood addressed that potential imbalance well?
Oh, definitely. Because even though Lo is this powerful leader, he never tries to, overpower Misery. He recognizes her strength, respects her boundaries, and really values her intelligence. Like, there's this scene where they're strategizing, and Lo actually defers to Misery's analytical skills.
Oh, I remember that. It was refreshing to see.
He acknowledges that her perspective, as someone who's lived outside the pack structure, is actually crucial to their decision-making.
It's like he's not threatened by her intelligence or her ability to challenge him at all.
Not one bit. He's drawn to it. And it's further emphasized by the mate bond, because even though it's presented as this powerful, undeniable force, it doesn't take away Misery's free will.
Yeah, she still makes her own choices.
Right. It's ultimately her decision to embrace the bond, to choose Lo. That's what solidifies their connection.
So it's not just about fate. There has to be that conscious choice.
Exactly. And that's a really important message, I think, especially in romance today, where we're moving away from those traditional power imbalances.
Yeah.
We want stories that showcase healthy, egalitarian relationships.
For sure. But even healthy relationships have conflicts. And in Bride, the ultimate antagonist is Misery's father, who embodies the worst of vampire society. He's power-hungry and ruthless.
He was a piece of work. He's willing to sacrifice anyone, even his own daughter, to get what he wants.
And his actions really drive that climax, pushing Misery and Lo to their limits, forcing them to make these impossible choices. That scene where he holds Misery hostage and forces Lo to choose between her and Anna. Talk about intense.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's like heart-pounding suspense.
Yeah.
Hazelwood really knows how to ratchet up the tension. She makes you feel the weight of those choices, the depth of their love and loyalty.
And in that moment of crisis, we see their true characters shine through, like Misery's strength and selflessness when she refuses to let Lo sacrifice his family for her.
She's amazing. And then just when all hope seems lost, Serena swoops in with her powers in this, total badass display of girl power.
Let's talk about a satisfying moment.
I know, she's been underestimated her whole life, and then she just explodes onto the scene, embracing her true self.
It's like Hazelwood is showing us the power of defying expectations. And that theme of challenging the status quo is woven throughout the entire book, from Misery rejecting those traditional bride expectations to Anna's very existence as a hybrid, blurring those species lines.
It's like she's pushing the boundaries of what's possible, both in the story and in the romance genre itself. And she does it all with such wit and intelligence.
Right. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Bride, what are your final thoughts? What makes this book stand out in the world of romance?
I think it's the combination of everything, you know? The scientific realism mixed with supernatural elements, the complex characters, the nuanced relationships, and those big thought-provoking themes.
And that humor. Don't forget the humor. It's like a breath of fresh air amidst all the drama and intensity.
Absolutely. I laughed out loud so many times while reading this book. It's got something for everyone, really.
It does. Action, romance, intrigue, those found family elements that we love. And beyond the pure entertainment, it really makes you think about some important stuff.
Yeah, about prejudice, about acceptance, about what really defines family and belonging.
Bride is more than just a romance. It's a story about finding your place in the world, challenging those norms, and choosing love over fear.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Now, we want to hear from you, deep divers. What resonated with you in Bride? What surprised you? What questions are you still pondering? Head over to our social media channels and let's keep this conversation going. Because that's what the deep dive is all about, exploring these fascinating topics together. Until next time, keep diving deep.